Across the surface of our planet rise some of the most powerful and awe-inspiring structures in the natural world. These towering formations, mountains that pierce the sky and challenge the limits of human endurance, have fascinated humanity for thousands of years. Mountains are far more than just dramatic landscapes. They are symbols of strength, mystery, and the exploration. Throughout history, they have inspired myths, spiritual journeys, scientific discoveries, and some of the greatest adventures ever undertaken. When early civilizations looked towards the horizon and saw snow covered peaks rising into the clouds, they often believed these mountains were sacred places, homes of gods, spirits, and powerful natural forces. In many cultures, mountains represented the connection between earth and the heavens. But beyond their spiritual symbolism, mountains play a crucial role in shaping life on our planet. They influence global weather patterns, create rivers that supply fresh waters to billions of people, and support unique ecosystems filled with extraordinary plants and animals. Some of the world's most important rivers, including the Gangas, Yangtze, and the Indus, originate in mountain regions. In this sense, mountains are not only natural monuments, they are the water towers of the world. Yet, mountains also represent one of the most extreme environments on the earth. As altitude increases, the air becomes thinner, the temperature drops dramatically, and storms grow more unpredictable. For climbers attempting to reach the highest peaks, these conditions present enormous challenges. Above 8,000 meters, a region known as the death zone, the human body can no longer adapt to the lack of oxygen. Even basic movements become exhausting. Survival itself becomes uncertain. Despite these dangers, people continue to climb these mountains. Why? Because mountains awaken something powerful in the human spirit. They challenge us to push beyond our limits. They remind us that sorry, exploration is part of who we are. Throughout this documentary, we will explore the tallest mountains on the earth. Sorry, giants that rise above the clouds and dominate the landscapes around them. Each of these mountains tells a story about the geological forces that shaped our planet, a story about the explorers who dared to climb them, and a story about the delicate balance between adventure and respect for the nature. These mountains stand as silent witnesses to the passage of time, unchanged for millions of years, yet constantly reshaping the world around them. They remind us of something both humbling and inspiring. No matter how advanced human civilization becomes, the natural world still contains wonders far greater than anything we have built. And among those wonders, the tallest mountains on earth remain some of the most extraordinary. The giants of our planet, mountains are powerful symbols of nature's strength and beauty. They shape climate, create rivers, and inspire explorers around the world. Mount Everest, the highest point on the earth, high above the clouds, on the border between Nepal and Tibet, rises the tallest mountain on our planet, Mount Everest. Standing at 8,848 meters above the sea level, Everest is often described as the roof of the world. But the story of Everest is not only about height, it is a story about human ambition, courage, controversy, and the profound relationship between people and the natural world. For centuries, the towering Himalayan peaks remained largely unexplored by outsiders. Local communities living in the region had long known about these mountains and respected them deeply. To the Sherpa people of Nepal, Everest is known as the Sagarmatha, meaning goddess of the sky. In Tibet, it is called as Chomolungma, meaning mother goddess of the world. These names reflect the spiritual importance of the mountain long before climbers from other parts of the world began attempting to reach its summit. In the early 20th century, explorers began studying the Himalayas more closely. At that time, reaching the summit of Everest was considered one of the greatest challenges in exploration. Early expeditions faced enormous obstacles. Climbers had to navigate massive glaciers, towering ice walls, and unpredictable avalanches. They also had to survive the extreme altitude where oxygen levels are only about one third of those at sea level. Several attempts ended in tragedy, but the dream of reaching the summit never disappeared. Finally, on May 29, 1953, two climbers achieved what many believed was impossible. Sir Edmund Hillary, a mountaineer from New Zealand, and Tenzing Norgay, a Sherpa climber from Nepal, successfully reached the summit of Mount Everest. Their achievement became one of the most celebrated moments in the history of exploration. News of their success spread across the world, inspiring a new generation of climbers and adventurers. But Everest's story did not end there. Over the decades that followed, the mountain became the ultimate goal for mountaineers everywhere. Thousands of climbers have attempted the ascent. Many have succeeded. Others have faced serious danger along the way. In recent years, Everest has also become the center of a growing debate. As climbing expeditions have increased, concerns about overcrowding, environmental damage, and safety have emerged. Photographs showing long lines of climbers near the summit have raised questions about whether commercial expeditions have made the mountain too accessible. Environmental groups have also highlighted the issue of waste left behind by the climbers. In response, Nepal and international organizations have launched major cleanup efforts and introduced new regulations to protect the mountain. These efforts reflect a broader realization. The greatest natural wonders on earth must be respected and protected. Mount Everest remains one of the most extraordinary places on our planet. Standing at its summit offers a view unlike any other, an endless horizon of Himalayan peaks stretching across the sky. But Everest also teaches a powerful lesson. Reaching the top of the world is not about conquering nature, it is about understanding how small we are compared to its immense power. K2, the Savage Mountain, in the remote Karakoram range along the border between Pakistan and China, rises a mountain that commands both admiration and fear. This is K2, the second highest mountain on the earth, standing at 8,611 meters above the sea level. Although it is slightly shorter than Mount Everest, many climbers consider K2 to be far more difficult and far more dangerous to climb. The mountain's steep slopes, unpredictable weather, and technical climbing routes have earned it a reputation unlike any other peaks in the world. In fact, K2 is often called as the Savage Mountain. This nickname reflects the harsh realities faced by the climbers who attempt to reach its summit. Unlike Everest, which has relatively established climbing routes and large numbers of support teams, K2 remains a far more technical and demanding climb. The mountain's terrain includes narrow ridges, unstable ice formations, and towering rock walls that require exceptional climbing skills. One of the most dangerous sections of the route is known as the bottleneck, a narrow passage located just below the summit. Above this section hangs a massive ice cliff that can collapse without warning. Climbers passing through the bottleneck must move quickly and carefully, knowing that even a small mistake could have serious consequences. For decades, K2 remained unconquered. Early expeditions attempted the climb in the early 20th century, but the mountain's brutal conditions repeatedly forced climbers to turn back. Finally, in 1954, an Italian expedition successfully reached the summit. Two climbers, Achille and Lino, became the first people to stand at the top of K2. Their achievement was celebrated around the world as one of the greatest accomplishments in mountaineering history. Yet, even after this historic ascent, K2 continued to demonstrate its formidable nature. For many years, the mountain had one of the highest fatality rates among the world's tallest peaks. Climbers respect K2 not only for its height but for the discipline and skill required to survive its ascent. Despite the risk, the mountain continues to attract some of the world's most experienced mountaineers. For them, K2 represents the ultimate test of climbing ability. It is not a mountain that can be conquered easily. It demands patience, preparation, teamwork, and deep respect for the power of nature. And perhaps that is what makes K2 so fascinating. It reminds us that some challenges remain beyond the reach of casual adventure. They require commitment, courage, and humility. Kanchenjunga, the sacred peak on the border between Nepal and India, rises a mountain that is both majestic and deeply respected by the people who live in its shadow. This is Kanchenjunga, the third highest mountain in the world, standing at 8,586 meters above sea level. This name means the five treasures of snow. According to local traditions, these treasures represent five sacred elements: gold, silver, gems, grain, and holy scriptures. For centuries, This mountain has held profound spiritual significance for the communities that live in the surrounding Himalayan region. Unlike many other peaks that are seen purely as challenges to conquer, Kanchenjunga is regarded as a sacred place. Even today, many climbers choose to stop just short of the summit out of respect for these cultural beliefs. This unique tradition reflects the deep relationship between nature and spirituality in the Himalayan world. The landscape surrounding Kanchenjunga is among the most diverse in the Himalayas. The region includes glaciers, alpine meadows, dense forests, and river valleys that support a wide range of wildlife. Rare species such as the snow leopard, red panda, and Himalayan black bear inhabit these remote areas. Because of this biodiversity, the region has been designated as a protected conservation area. Yet, Kanchenjunga remains one of the least frequently climbed mountains among the world's tallest peaks. Part of the reason is the mountain's extreme weather. Storm systems can appear suddenly, bringing powerful winds and heavy snowfall. Avalanches are also a constant danger in the steep mountain terrain. Climbers attempting to reach Kanchenjunga must be prepared for rapidly changing conditions and challenging technical routes. Despite these difficulties, the mountain continues to inspire explorers from around the world. For many climbers, Kanchenjunga offers something unique. It is not only a test of physical endurance, it is also an opportunity to experience one of the most remote and culturally rich regions of the Himalayas. The mountain stands as a reminder that nature is not only a physical landscape, it is also a place of meaning, tradition, and identity. And sometimes the most powerful way to honor a mountain is simply to approach it with respect. Everest's powerful neighbor, standing in the shadow of Mount Everest, is another giant of the Himalayas, the fourth highest mountain in the world, rising to 8,516 meters above sea level. At first glance, this mountain might appear to be simply part of Everest's massive mountain system. In fact, the two peaks share part of the same climbing route up to a point known as the South Col, a high mountain pass connecting the two giants. But beyond that shared section, it reveals a personality entirely on its own. The mountain's name comes from Tibetan words meaning South Peak, reflecting its position relative to Everest. Yet, despite its proximity to the world's highest mountain, this mountain is often described by climbers as a far more technically demanding challenge. One of this mountain's most remarkable feature is its south face, a massive wall of rock and ice rising more than 3,000 meters straight upward. This enormous vertical face is considered one of the most dramatic mountain walls anywhere on the earth. Climbing the south faces requires exceptional technical skills, including ice climbing, rock climbing, and the ability to navigate narrow ridges under extreme conditions. When climbers approach the mountain from base camp, they are immediately struck by its imposing presence. Sharp ridges cut into the sky, glaciers flow slowly down the slopes, and powerful winds sweep across the summit. Despite the dangers, the first successful ascent of this mountain occurred in 1956 when a Swiss expedition reached the summit. Sorry. Since then, this mountain has become one of the most respected peaks among professional mountaineers. Yet, like many of the world's tallest mountains, this mountain also raises important questions about modern climbing culture. Because it shares part of the route with Everest, some climbers attempt to summit this mountain after climbing Everest during the same expedition. This trend has sparked debate within the mountaineering community. Some believe that climbing multiple peaks in one expedition may increase risk due to exhaustion and extreme altitude. Others argue that experienced climbers are capable of safely completing such challenges. These discussions highlight an important truth about high altitude mountaineering. Climbing mountains of this scale is never simply about reaching the summit. It is about preparation, teamwork, and respect for the unpredictable forces of nature. This mountain stands as a powerful reminder that even in the presence of the world's tallest mountain, other peaks can command equal respect and admiration. Pyramid of the Himalayas, not far from Everest and Lhotse, rises another extraordinary Himalayan peak known for its striking appearance and formidable climbing routes. This is Makalu, the fifth highest mountain on the earth, reaching 8,485 meters above the sea level. Unlike many mountains whose ridges and slopes create irregular shapes, Makalu is famous for its nearly perfect pyramid-like structure. From a distance, the mountain appears almost geometric, its sharp edges forming a dramatic triangular silhouette against the sky. But this elegant shape hides a mountain that is widely regarded as one of the most technically difficult of all the 8,000-meter peaks. Makalu's steep ridges, narrow summit pyramid, and constantly shifting weather conditions make it a serious challenge even for experienced climbers. The mountain lies within the Makalu Barun National Park, one of the most biologically diverse regions in the Himalayas. This protected area includes glaciers, high altitude forests, alpine meadows, and river valleys that support a wide variety of wildlife. Snow leopards, Himalayan black bears, and rare bird species inhabit the remote landscapes surrounding the mountain. The combination of breathtaking natural beauty and extreme mountaineering challenges makes Makalu one of the most fascinating peaks in the world. The first successful ascent of Makalu occurred in 1955 when a French expedition reached the summit. Their climb required navigating steep ice ridges and exposed rock sections, demonstrating the exceptional technical difficulty of the mountain. Unlike Everest, Makalu remains relatively uncrowded. Its demanding routes discourage inexperienced climbers, which has helped preserve its wild and remote character. For many mountaineers, Makalu represents a different kind of achievement. Climbing, it is not about standing on the highest point on the earth. It is about mastering one of the most technically challenging mountains in the Himalayas. And for those who succeed, the reward is not only reaching the summit, but experiencing one of the most spectacular and untouched landscapes in the world. The turquoise goddess, high in the Himalayas, near the border between Nepal and Tibet, rises a mountain whose beauty has inspired explorers and climbers for decades. This mountain is the sixth highest peak in the world, standing at 8,188 meters above the sea level. Its name comes from Tibetan word meaning turquoise goddess. The name reflects the striking appearance of the mountain when sunlight touches its icy slopes, sometimes creating a shimmering turquoise glow across the glaciers and snowfields. Compared to many other mountains in the Himalayan range, it is often described as one of the more accessible 8,000-meter peaks. This does not mean the climb is easy. At such extreme altitudes, every step requires effort, and the lack of oxygen can challenge even the most experienced climbers. But the mountain's relatively broad slopes and less technical routes makes it a popular choice for mountaineers attempting their first climb above 8,000 meters. For many climbers, it represents a gateway into the world of high altitude mountaineering. Yet, accessibility does not remove the risk. Sudden storms, freezing temperatures, and avalanches remain constant dangers. The thin air at these heights can cause altitude sickness, a potentially life threatening condition that affects climbers who ascend too quickly. Because of this risk, mountaineering teams spend weeks gradually acclimatizing their bodies to the altitude before attempting the final ascent. The surrounding Himalayan landscape only adds to the mountain's mystic. Massive glaciers flow through deep valleys, while towering peaks stretch across the horizon in every direction. From the summit of this mountain, climbers can see some of the most famous mountains on earth, including Everest and Lhotse in the distance. Standing there, surrounded by endless snow covered peaks, many climbers describe a feeling that is difficult to explain. It is a mixture of exhaustion, awe, and gratitude, a realization that reaching such heights requires not only strength but also humility. This mountain teaches an important lesson about the mountains. Even when a peak appears more approachable than others, it still demands respect because at these altitudes, nature always remains in the control. Dhaulagiri, the White Mountain. Among the towering peaks of the Himalayas stands a mountain whose name reflects its dazzling appearance. This is Dhaulagiri, the seventh highest mountain on the earth, rising to 8,167 meters above the sea level. This name Dhaulagiri comes from Sanskrit words meaning white mountain. The name is fitting, for much of the year the mountain's slopes are covered in thick snow and ice that reflects sunlight brilliantly against the blue Himalayan sky. But the story of Dhaulagiri is more than a story of beauty. For many years in the early 19th century, explorers believed Dhaulagiri might actually be the tallest mountain in the world. At that time, the Himalayas were still largely unexplored by Western scientists. Without accurate measurements, Dhaulagiri's massive appearance led many to assume it was the highest peak on the earth. It was only later, through detailed surveying, that Mount Everest was identified as the true tallest mountain. Even so, Dhaulagiri remains one of the most impressive peaks in the Himalayas. The mountain rises dramatically above surrounding valleys, creating one of the greatest elevation differences anywhere on the earth. Within just a few kilometers, the terrain rises from river valleys to towering ice covered ridges. This dramatic topography creates powerful weather systems around the mountain. Sudden storms, high winds, and heavy snowfall make climbing extremely dangerous. Avalanches are one of the greatest threats faced by the climbers attempting to reach the summit. For this reason, Dhaulagiri remained unconquered till 1960, when a Swiss expedition finally succeeded in reaching the summit. Their achievement required weeks of preparation, careful route planning, and exceptional teamwork. Even today, climbing Dhaulagiri remains one of the most challenging achievements in mountaineering. Yet, the mountain is not only important for climbers, the surrounding region supports remote Himalayan communities that have lived in the area for generations. These communities rely on the mountain environment for water, agriculture, and cultural traditions. Their relationship with the mountains highlights a deeper truth. Mountains are not only places of adventure, they are also homes, resources, and sources of identity for millions of people around the world. Dhaulagiri stands as a powerful symbol of both natural beauty and the resilience of those who live in its shadow. Manaslu, the mountain of spirit, deep within the Himalayan range, stands a mountain whose name reflects a connection not only to nature but also to the human mind and spirit. This mountain is Manaslu, the eighth highest mountain on the earth, rising to 8,163 meters above the sea level. The name Manaslu comes from the Sanskrit word manasa, meaning spirit or intellect. For centuries, the regions surrounding this mountain have been home to Himalayan communities whose cultures are deeply connected to the rhythms of nature. Ancient monasteries stand quietly on mountain slopes, and prayer flags flutter in the wind, carrying messages of peace across the valleys. For the people who live in this region, the mountain represents more than a geographical landmark. It represents harmony between humans and the natural world. But Manaslu also holds a special place in the history of mountaineering. For many climbers, it is considered one of the more approachable of the 8,000-meter peaks, though the climb remains extremely demanding. The first successful ascent of Manaslu was achieved in 1956 by a Japanese expedition. Their journey required navigating glaciers, narrow ridges, and unpredictable weather conditions. Today, climbers who attempt Manaslu must still overcome similar challenges. Avalanches, deep snow, and powerful storms make the climb both physically and mentally demanding. Yet, many climbers say that the journey to Manaslu offers something unique. The surroundings valleys are home to remote villages where traditional Himalayan lifestyles continue much as they have for the centuries. Travelers often pass through forests, high mountain passes, and peaceful monasteries on their way to the mountain's base camp. This combination of natural beauty and cultural richness makes the Manaslu region one of the most memorable mountain environments in the world. In many ways, Manaslu represents a balance between adventure and the reflection. It reminds climbers that reaching the summit of a mountain is not only a physical achievement, it is also a journey of the mind. The Killer Mountain, among the world's tallest mountains, stands a peak with one of the most dramatic reputations in mountaineering history. This Nanga Parbat, the ninth highest mountains on the earth, rising to 8,126 meters above the sea level. Located in Pakistan's western Himalayas, Nanga Parbat is known for its immense size and breathtaking appearances. The name Nanga Parbat means necked mountain, referring to the steep rocky slopes that dominate its landscape. But climbers have given the mountain another nickname. They call it as the Killer Mountain. This name emerged during the early 20th century when several climbing expeditions ended in tragedy. The mountain's steep faces, unpredictable weather, and avalanche-prone terrain made early attempts extremely dangerous. One of the most famous features of Nanga Parbat is the Rupal face, a towering wall of rock and ice rising more than 4,600 meters from base to summit. It is considered as the tallest mountain face in the world. Climbing its enormous wall requires extraordinary skills, endurance, and determination. After many failed attempts, the first successful ascent of Nanga Parbat was finally achieved in 1953 by the Austrian climber Hermann Bull. Remarkably, Bull completed the final part of the climb alone, reaching the summit after an exhausting solo ascent. His achievement became one of the most legendary moments in mountaineering history. Today, Nanga Parbat remains a symbol of both danger and determination. Modern climbing equipment and improved knowledge of mountain conditions have made ascents safer than in the past. However, the mountain still commands deep respect from the climbers. Standing before Nanga Parbat, it becomes clear why mountains inspire such powerful emotions. They represent both beauty and the risk, and they remind us that exploration always involves the courage. Throughout history, mountains have stood as silent witnesses to the story of our planet. They have risen slowly through geological forces over millions of years, shaping landscapes and influencing climates across entire continents. The tallest mountains on Earth, Everest, K2, Kangchenjunga, Lhotse Makalu, Cho Oyu, Dhaulagiri, Manaslu, and Nanga Parbat, represent some of the most extraordinary natural formations on our planet. These peaks are not only geographical landmarks, they are symbols of curiosity, determination, and the human desire to explore the unknown. For climbers, reaching the summit of one of these mountains is often the culmination of years of preparation and dedication. For scientists, mountains provide valuable insights into Earth's geological history and climatic systems. For local communities, mountains are sources of water, culture, and spiritual identity. But perhaps the most powerful lesson mountains teach us is humility. Standing before a towering peak, it becomes impossible to ignore the scale of nature's power. Mountains remind us that our planet is far older and far greater than human civilization. They challenge us to respect the natural world and to protect the environments that sustain life. As exploration continues and technology advances, humanity will undoubtedly continue climbing these extraordinary peaks. Yet, the true meaning of mountains may lie not in reaching their summits, but in the inspiration they provide. They encourage us to push our limits, to seek new horizons, and to remember that the greatest adventures often begin with a single step towards the unknown. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.